Good afternoon and welcome to another Yesterday's Airlines video. In this video we're going to be looking at the January releases of Aeroclassics, which have just arrived at the Yesterday's Airlines hangar. Now, just before I start looking at the models individually, just have a quick mention of AC of recent times. They've been producing some really impressive models for the last 6-7 months or so. Every month there are tons of releases that I'm interested in getting, and I really have to struggle to limit myself. This month there were several models I didn't get. There was another Vladivostok Tupolev, there was an Ethiopian 727, obviously there was a second Faucett DC8. Lots of other models I could have bought, but I had to limit myself to 5. Nobody produces the range of models that Aeroclassics does. Just look at the 5 I've received here. We've got an American Classic, a Belgian from the late 80s, we've got an early 80s Oceania 707, we've got a South American DC-8 from probably the 70s, and we've got this early 2000s Russian independent airline. So really impressive diversity. Even NG models can't match Aeroclassics for the pure range of aircraft they're producing. Okay, cool. So let's move on and have a quick look around the models that I have acquired. So I'll start off with the Faucett DC8, which is probably the most controversial of the models that I got this month, and that's because of the tiny numbers that it was produced in. Only 85 pieces, so I'm told, of this version. There was also a second version which also was released in only 85 pieces, and I missed out on the first one. I was very lucky to be able to get this one because they sold out almost immediately. Yeah, Peruvian models and South American models generally seem pretty popular, so I'm surprised there weren't more of these released. I think there's a decent chance Aeroclassics will re-release with a different rego in the near future. But regardless, what's the model like? Well, it's an Aeroclassics DC8, and that means by default that it's going to be very good. The Aeroclassics DC8 model is excellent. Faucett's a really interesting airline to produce, and one which hasn't got a lot of coverage. Aeropru has got quite a lot of coverage, and Faucett hasn't. As you can see, this is classic Aeroclassics in some ways. Beautiful silver belly, great mould, nice detailing. Obviously, AC molds don't come with the antenna. You're just going to have to suck it up. In general, the Aeroclassics DC8 is sublime, and I really like it. And I haven't actually checked in detail, but this model is looking good. I can't see any obvious print issues with it. So, a really nice model. It's a shame there weren't more produced, and it will work really nicely into my Peruvian fleet, and hopefully we'll be seeing some more Faucett aircraft in the near future as well, maybe some 727s and such. So first model, it's a slam dunk, really nice. Okay, next up we'll have a look at the SABENA A310. Obviously Aeroclassics boxes aren't particularly exciting, but the A310 boxes are quite nice, and it's got the paper sticker on it. It's okay, does the job, and frankly, who's buying boxes anyway? The model itself, another nice release, and one I've been waiting for some time. It's good to get through most of the major European early operators of the A310, and SABENA is one of the last ones that hasn't been made yet. This is their late 80s scheme, which moved them into the 90s. Really nice, and the scheme looks good. The blue looks nice, and I'm a big fan of this A310 mould. Again, it doesn't have antenna, only wheels, don't have hubs, but this is just Aeroclassics, that's what you get. But the mould itself is excellent. I don't see any need for any other A310s, because this one is really nice. And overall, again, Aeroclassics have done a really sturdy, reliable job producing an attractive and well-made model here. So a really nice addition to my SABENA fleet. Next up, we've got the Niugini 707. I happened to know this was coming, so I held off buying the release from a few months ago without the extra titles, and now I waited for this one, which is produced in smaller numbers, but has this now Singapore, Jakarta, Hawaii titles on the fuselage. It's another really nice classic release, just like the DC-8. 707 turbofan mould that Aeroclassics has is really good. Yeah, it's a cradle mould. I don't care. The model's really nice. No one's producing 707s apart from AC, and there's a good reason for that, because Aeroclassics 707s are really nice. I'd love them to make a turbojet mould. That would require new wings, but regardless, they can keep on pumping out these 707 320Bs and Cs, and they look really nice. And this is a good model. Again, don't really see any, major concerns with this one either. Really like the look and feel of the Aeroclassics 707, and this one's looking pretty good. So a really nice addition, and any Niugini models are often quite rare or become quite rare, so I can see this one again being a model which is going to be hard to find in years to come. The Vladivostok Avia Tupolev Tu-154M. I've talked a fair bit about the return of this mould with my YU models, and this is the first month that we've got some Aeroclassics action on it. The mould isn't the best in the universe, and hey, it might be nice to have a new Tu-154. Good luck. I don't see that happening anytime soon, and so I'm more than happy to settle for these Aeroclassics editions, partly because I've already got quite a lot of them and they fit quite nicely in. Overall, the mould's not too bad. It could do with completely new undercarriage. Obviously, this area at the tail isn't as tight as it might be, but generally, it's good enough. And this is a really nice scheme. Vladivostok Avia, their latest scheme. I've heard a few people also say they've not heard of this airline. It was a sizable Russian airline in the 2000s. Eventually, it was merged with SAT to make what is now Aurora. It's kind of still around, but not. And, this is a really nice scheme updated here. I've actually got the Aeroclassics A330 in this livery, and I think there's an A322, which I don't own. But this is a really nice Tu-154. And generally, another solid, reliable release from Aeroclassics. Okay, and the last model of the month for me from AC is the United Airlines delivery colours Boeing 727-100. This is in fact their 727-100 prototype, as you can tell by the rego, N701U. And United put a particularly unusual and unique scheme on their early 727s, which had a break in the cheat line here for the shield, which gives them a very different look to the rest of their fleet. It's another nice model. I'm really pleased to see the return of 727-100 model. I've been buying quite a lot of the releases recently, using it. Again, it's not a perfect mold, and yeah, I'm sure that NG could make a better version, but the reality is this is more than good enough, and I think NG have got other priorities, and certainly I'd rather they had them. This is a really nice model. I really like it. It fits really nicely with the two that were released last month in slightly different United schemes. And again, Aeroclassics can knock these kind of classic releases out of the park. The printing's good. It doesn't need tons of hyper detail. You don't even miss aerials on aircraft like 727s, which barely had any. There's no domes or anything that need to be added that are missing. And overall, it's really nice. This month has been a really good month for Aeroclassics. I'm really happy with the models which I've acquired. So to round it up, it's another really good month. None of the models have any issues. They're all really nice classics, really varied set of releases, and they all fit really nicely into my collection. Which one is my favourite of these five? It's difficult. I think that it has to really be the Faucett, because it's just so colourful and it's quite unique. And obviously nowadays it's rare, almost immediately after production. But all the models are really nice and fit really nicely into my collection. I think Aeroclassics, does some really good stuff. I think they get a little bit unfairly maligned for not being NG models. Obviously Andrew is a grumpy old bugger sometimes, but they're still producing good models. They deserve plaudits for producing such a diverse range of schemes and having such a great back catalogue of excellent molds like the A310, the DC-8, the 707 and 727-100 here. And even their weaker molds like the Tu-154, are still good, solid molds. So, keep it up at Aeroclassics. I'm really enjoying what you're producing, and hopefully there'll be some good stuff coming out in a few days' time. Anyway, thanks very much for watching, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. As always, subscribe and like if you did. Check me out on Instagram at YesToAirlines, and obviously on Facebook too at YesToAirlines, and always keep an eye on the website, yesterdaysairlines.com. Thanks very much. See you later.